Greg Doucette and Abbey Sharp. A few of you wanted me to touch on this whole thing. It's a thing. Abbey Sharp has her video, which is 30-something minutes. It was like 50 minutes. Talk about that later. And then he has 3 response videos. I think each one is about 20 minutes long. So I watched all that stuff. Actually have some things to say. I thought only a few things. When I sat down to make notes and work on this, I thought it was going to take just a few minutes and be a couple pages. No, it took several hours and I have like 10 pages. So that's good. For those who don't know, Abbey Sharp is a dietitian. She reviews YouTubers' diets, like their What I Ate Today videos here on YouTube. She actually did mine a couple years ago now. I don't even know. It's been a little while. And then Greg Doucette is also a YouTuber. He is a bodybuilder. He has competed in the past. I don't know if he currently competes, and he coaches people in terms of, weight loss and exercise and just getting healthier. Puts out a lot of videos by the look of it. Also does a lot of response videos to other YouTubers, mostly regarding fitness and nutrition, stuff like that. He takes steroids or something. I don't know, I don't know anything about steroids, but I know he does take something and he talks about it. He's very open about it, which is cool. Not that he takes them, but that he's actually honest about it, because obviously that's a big problem in the big muscle dude world, even here on YouTube. It's constant natty or not, natural or not type stuff. So appreciate his honesty. I'm sure a lot of people do. So I'm not going to talk too much about Abby's video, her review in terms of the What I Ate Today stuff, other than just the obvious, which is that she chose 2 of his videos, and they are both when he is cutting, getting shredded, so to speak, before a competition. So he's trying to get his body fat below 5%, which is incredibly low. She admits that what he's doing isn't supposed to be for normal people. It is, while he is cutting, he's getting ready for a competition, whatever, he's trying to get as lean as possible. But she says that he normally eats like this, just more of it, more calories. So she feels justified commenting on these videos as if it were his normal diet. From what I've seen, that seems fine. I've watched a few of his other What I Ate Today, his more recent ones, where he is not, preparing for a competition. And it does seem like they are very similar to his cutting videos. The egg white French toast for breakfast he has every single time. Shit ton of vegetables in the form of these huge salads, pound of spinach, and these huge wraps with, again, just tons of greens and mushrooms and stuff. Protein bars, protein ice cream. Even still, some of her criticism is just weird when she's talking about how he should add sauteed vegetables to his breakfast in place of this green shake that she assumes is this green powder or whatever with his French toast.
I would ultimately love to see just a little bit more variety in this meal. Maybe, throwing in some sauteed vegetables instead of the powdered green shake.
But his next meal is full of vegetables. Why would he need to add more vegetables to that meal? I don't know. It's very weird to me. Talking about how he can get more fiber, again, from vegetables and from, his French toast breakfast, exchanging the white bread for wheat bread.
I am totally on board with people choosing a variety of grains, and having white bread mixed into a balanced diet is totally cool in my books. My personal opinion, though, is that this French toast would definitely be more filling and satiating for Greg if it was made with a whole grain bread, since that would offer a little bit more fiber and protein.
But again, he's eating so much vegetables. There's no way he's not getting enough fiber. So it's a weird criticism. And that meal is already insane in terms of protein due to all the egg whites. So it's really weird that she talks about protein. If he switches to whole wheat bread, he'll get more fiber and protein. It's especially weird since she later talks about how he prefers bread over rice because there's more protein in the bread. And she says that the difference in protein is so small that it doesn't matter. And she's right. But the difference between white and wheat bread, especially in a meal already packed with protein, also doesn't matter. So yeah, it's a little inconsistent. To be charitable, dietitians do tend to focus on eating balanced for every single meal. So every meal having a balance of fat and carbs and protein and fiber, etc., which I think for the vast majority of us makes sense. Those of us who are just trying to be a little bit healthier and we aren't eating a pound of spinach in one sitting. That's not Greg. He's clearly getting plenty of fiber, antioxidants, etc. over the course of his day, like every single day. He eats more vegetables in a day than I eat in like a week. The one area she may be right is fat. He does seem to eat pretty low fat even in his regular diet. In this video where his girlfriend, she eats what he eats for a day, including the amounts. So, you know, unsurprisingly, she's not able to eat as much as he does. He has his French toast breakfast, a blueberry version of it that just looks like, what is that? What is that supposed to be on that plate? A mango and a peach protein bar, then these giant spinach mushroom wraps, 4 of them. What? Yeah, they actually use the vegan Eve's ground meat in these wraps, which is really cool.
As you can see, you don't have to eat everything with chicken or steak. You can eat veggie stuff. You're allowed to make substitutions. People think that you have to eat meat all the time. You don't actually have to. There's plenty of protein.
Popcorn, he loves popcorn, who doesn't? And a protein shake, and then finally these protein sickle things with like peanut butter powder, and I think he said some strawberry, a little bit of cocoa powder. You know, they're like mostly protein, and smoked salmon with that, which is an interesting combination. The salmon seems to be the only major source of fat in that day, so his overall percentage of fat is probably very low in terms of like percentage of calories, but he's also eating just so much food and so many calories that his overall amount of fat that he's eating, like the grams of fat in his diet, could very well be fine. All that said, I don't think that this aspect of her video, just when she's talking about the food itself, his What I Ate Today videos, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's as bad as his audience, as his fans, and himself and his responses have made it out to be. Like, one thing that people and Greg seem to be really offended by is when she spends a lot of time explaining certain kind of basic concepts. So she talks about calorie-free foods not really being calorie-free because he eats a lot of like alternative sweetener stuff. And she talks about muscle protein synthesis and eating after lifting, you know, after working out, and whether you need to do that or not. She spends a lot of time on stuff like this. And I think Greg and other people take it as, oh, she's like speaking to him and trying to educate him, and he's like, well, duh, I already know all this stuff. Maybe thinks that she's like belittling him or something, but I don't take it that way. I take it as she's speaking to her audience. I think she's just trying to provide general information for people who are watching, a lot of whom probably don't know any of that. And so it's like, you know, useful information. I don't think she ever addresses Greg like directly in the video. She's always speaking about him to her viewers, like she's speaking to other people. I think she does that in most, if not all, of her videos that are like this. So basically, I don't think she's saying, Greg, that calorie-free syrup isn't actually calorie-free. I think she's saying, hey, FYI to those watching, calorie-free syrup isn't actually calorie-free. Oh, and his response that she should have bought his recipe book to see like what he's actually recommending to people, the recipes and the diet that he's actually recommending to people. His $99 recipe book. Come on. No. So now the real problems, what I think are the real issues with Abby's video. It starts about 24 minutes in when she starts talking about the problematic claims, I think she says, that Greg makes on his channel. Number 2 is that he promotes under-consuming calories, and she shares a clip where Greg says,
the average woman eats 1,800 calories a day. The average man, 2,800 calories a day. That's what the average person is eating, in case you're just like, well, I don't know. It gives you a ballpark idea of what kind of calorie range people are eating. Should you be eating that much? No, you shouldn't. 1,800 calories a day for women, 2,800 for men. What does the average person look like? The average person looks like poop. So if you want to look like poop, chances are, keep eating as much as you're eating. Unless you're already awesome, unless you already look amazing, unless you're already a competitor, then this video is not for you. This is for the normal average person. The average person that maybe they work out and just wants to look a little bit better.
So my thoughts, and then I'll share what Abby says. Yeah, it's mean. I would not word it that way personally, but the average person, at least in America, is overweight or even obese. Most people in this country are overweight. Now look, there are those of us who are chubby chasers and we think that's hot and whatever, but most people are not. Most people find that a slimmer body to a certain degree is more attractive than a fatter body. Even the thick girls, the super curvy girls that were like, yeah, like that's the, best body. Hourglass sort of figure. I don't know. That was not an hourglass. There we go. They are not fat by any means, and they don't look like the average woman at all. If you look at someone like Doja Cat, she does not represent the average woman. I don't think I've ever seen anyone in real life who looks like that. Maybe like a handful of times. Like someone who is that curvy with that small of a waist. Most of us, if we try to get that curvy, if we try to get hips, that curvaceous and like chest and everything, you know what else is going to get real big? Our waist. Like most of us do not look like that. So yeah, if you want to look better than the average man or the average woman, you might have to eat less. I say might because that's not necessarily true. That's the one, I think, problematic thing about what he says. He's definitely wrong that you will have to eat less than 1,800 calories if you're a woman and you want to look better than the average woman, have a fitter body than the average woman. If you're an active woman, if you start working out a lot, you could very well need more than 1,800 calories and end up looking better and being fitter than the average person. It depends on a lot of different factors: activity level, how tall you are, how old you are. Remember, the average American does not exercise. So 1,800 calories for someone who does not exercise, who barely moves around, yeah, that's probably a lot. 1,800 calories for someone who works out every day, probably not a lot. So now here's Abbey's response.
I know I warned you about his less than sensitive choice of words, but in this video, he actually suggested that the average person looks like poop, and that in order to look above average, you're going to need to eat less calories than what's recommended. But as a way to generally talk about people, this is just not okay.
Yeah, again, it's mean, but ultimately what he's saying is the average person is overweight. If you don't want to be overweight, you probably need to not do what the average person is doing. What is the average person doing? Eating too much and exercising too little. I don't think that's controversial. I don't think anyone can really disagree with that.
Promoting a constant state of undernourishment and seemingly attaching it to a sense of morality is so against everything I stand for, and is just so problematic considering most of the world will never achieve Greg's physique, even with extreme dieting and restriction.
What? Where did he say that at all? Where did he bring up morality or like the person's character? What I took from that whole thing, and I watched it several times, was just that he's talking about aesthetics. I definitely did not get him saying you're a bad person if you're overweight. I think she was just so offended by him saying that people look like poop and by just his whole demeanor, just how, kind of aggressive he is, that she reads way more into what he says than is warranted. Also, where does he talk about his own physique? She says, most of the world will never achieve Greg's physique, even with extreme dieting or restriction. I didn't hear him talk about himself in that clip, that in order to look like him, you need to eat less calories. He just says in order to look better than average that you should, eat less calories. And finally, where did he say anything about undernourishment? She talks about promoting a constant state of undernourishment is just so problematic, but where does he talk about that? If you're eating so many calories that you're overweight, which is who he's talking to, then yeah, you're eating too many calories for your health. Eating less so that you're able to lose the weight is probably a good thing for you. Obviously, you can do that in very unhealthy ways that would not be good for you, following stupid fad diets that don't meet your nutritional needs, cutting calories way too low, but I haven't seen him promote that. In fact, this video, which I found very easily, it was one of the first ones that came up when I searched Greg Doucette diet. He explicitly says not to eat a diet that's too restrictive, and he says not to restrict calories too much because you will lose muscle. Anyway, continuing on with Abbey's response.
In fact, just moderately active females and males need 2,000 and 2,800 calories respectively to sustain their health. So promoting undereating in order to better ourselves is just unsafe and not healthy at all.
I would love to know her source for this. There wasn't anything in the description. I could not find any evidence that moderately active women need to eat 2,000 calories a day in order to be healthy. I seriously doubt that someone who is like 5 feet, like 5 foot tall, 5'0", needs to eat that much. I actually plugged in just like a random, fake woman, 30-year-old, 5'2" active woman into Mayo Clinic's calculator, and I got 1,950 calories to maintain 130 pounds. Now, 130 at 5'2" is at the like higher end of normal BMI, so she could lose a substantial amount of weight. She could eat slightly less, lose 10 pounds, and still be well within the normal BMI range. Where is the evidence that that's unhealthy? If she's eating an unbalanced diet, sure, but it's not hard to make a healthy 1,900 calorie, 1,800 calorie, even 1,600 calorie diet. So I think Greg is wrong to say that you have to eat less than 1,800 calories, again, talking about women specifically, to look better than the average woman. I'm sure that there are millions of examples to the contrary. All these women building their butts up super big. There is no way they're eating that few calories. They are working out a lot. They are trying to build muscle, which means putting on a little bit of fat. Guarantee you they're eating over 2,000 calories. But Abbey is also wrong that active women need to eat 2,000 calories per day to be healthy. Number 3, I skipped over number 1 because talking about healthy fats, she says that he kind of demonizes healthy fats or promotes not eating healthy fats. I'm kind of iffy on that. I already kind of talked about the fats thing. He does eat some healthy fats. He eats avocado in one of his videos and stuff.
It's just all around awesome fat, okay? So if you're like one of these people that needs a lot of fat, there you go. Healthy.
So number 3, the third problem with Greg's channel, according to Abbey, he calls food good or bad. She shares this clip where he's like really obnoxiously screaming,
"Make smart and healthy choices and eat good food. Oh, there's no coach, there's no such thing as good food and bad food. You're spreading the wrong message. Shut up! A chocolate bar is bad food. An apple is good food. You want to argue with me all day? Go ahead, you're just being stupid."
Like, I don't think it's controversial. Does anyone really think a candy bar is healthy? Is good for you? Like, that's all he's saying. Here's Abbey's response.
When we classify food into these distinct categories, we give them moral value. When we think of a certain food as being bad and ourselves as being bad for eating it, we tend to obsessively want it more. This perpetuates a dangerous cycle of undereating and overeating and results in a really unhealthy relationship with your body and mind. Now, the truth is, I'm a dietitian. There is no doubt in my mind that foods are not nutritionally equal, but we can make them morally equal by dropping this kind of language. Eating a cupcake does not make you a bad person. And eating an apple does not make you inherently a good person. This kind of language is at the root of orthorexic eating patterns, and it really needs to stop.
Again, I think she is hearing something that isn't there because his demeanor, because he's so aggressive, because she doesn't agree with his approach. She doesn't like him. I mean, it's pretty clear she does not like him. Nowhere in that clip does he say you're a bad person if you eat chocolate instead of an apple. This is a huge problem with the intuitive eating movement, something I came across over and over and over again when I was researching for my video on intuitive eating. This idea that calling a food good or bad means you're calling the person who chooses to eat those foods good or bad. I wonder if this comes from people who have an eating disorder or who are prone to eating disorders. Those of us who have had an eating disorder, I think most of us do moralize food in that way. We do hate ourselves for eating cookies. Like, we do think that we are a lesser person if we give in to certain foods, even if we just stray from our diet a little bit. Does that mean everyone does this? Does that mean that every person, or even just like most people who hear that fruit is good and chips are bad, takes that to mean that they themselves are bad for eating chips? I don't think so. I don't know of any evidence for this whatsoever. I watched Abbey's series on intuitive eating and I could not find any. I think most adults are adult enough to hear that some foods are good and some foods are bad. Or if you like it better, some foods are healthy and some foods are unhealthy. And if you want to be healthier, you need to eat more healthy foods and less unhealthy foods. That's it. Finally, this idea that yo-yo dieting is dangerous. She doesn't say yo-yo dieting specifically. She says a dangerous cycle of undereating and overeating, which is what yo-yo dieting is. This is another popular concept within the intuitive eating movement that has virtually no evidence for it whatsoever. I'm not saying yo-yo dieting is good. No one wants to constantly lose weight, gain it back again, lose weight, gain it back again. But this idea, it's actually harmful to your body, like physically harmful, is just not supported by science. And if it's keeping people from even trying to diet and trying to lose weight because they fear yo-yo dieting, that's bad. Number 4, Greg's assumption that weight is a personal choice. Abbey does not like that Greg tells people to exercise and to eat less calories in order to lose weight.
While yes, our weight may be influenced by our diet, of course, it is also largely determined by our genetics, the environment that we live and work in, our microbiome, our hormones, certain diseases and medications, and yes, even restriction. We know that weight is the result of so much more than calories in and calories out, so the law of thermodynamics that Greg is referring to is just far too simple to account for human experience and weight fluctuations.
But it still all comes down to calories in versus calories out. It may not be easy to gauge that because of all of these factors, but it still ultimately comes down to calories in, calories out. If a medication is making you hungrier and so you gain weight, it's still calories in versus calories out. You're eating more food, you're eating more calories, and so you're gaining weight. If you have a slower metabolism, it's still calories in, calories out. To be charitable, maybe she's saying that, calories in, calories out, or calorie counting is just too confusing for most people because of all of these underlying factors or potential underlying factors. So say someone wants to lose a pound a week, they use one of these calorie calculators and it says, okay, you should eat 1,800 calories a day to lose a pound a week. So they try that, they track their food really carefully, all that stuff, and they don't lose weight because maybe it turns out they have a slow metabolism or something. Very unlikely because it's kind of a myth. It doesn't really play that much of a role, but whatever. They've got some underlying factor that makes that number wrong. And so Abbey maybe would say that tracking calories just isn't helpful for that person because of all these underlying factors. But I think the obvious response would be, well, just go to 1,700. Like if 1,800 isn't working, go down to 1,750 or 1,700. Like you go lower until you achieve your goal. Obviously, to a point, you want to be healthy. But yeah, I've never heard anyone say that, no, whatever number you get in those calorie calculators, that's the number that should work for you. No, it's trial and error because there are so many underlying factors, including just tracking. Our tracking can be really off, especially if you're just tracking food and calories for the first time. It can be, it's a little bit of a learning curve, right? So yeah, it's still calories in, calories out, whether we know exactly what the number is or not, which of course we don't, but you can still track to a reasonable degree. Obviously, people do it all the time and achieve your goals. Now, that's not the same as saying you have to track calories in order to lose weight. Obviously, there are people who don't track calories and they lose weight. Either they do whole foods only, no sugar or anything like that, and they lose weight, or they do something like a very low carb diet or a very low fat diet, or they go vegan. A lot of people who go vegan, they end up losing, probably again because they're eating more low calorie, high volume foods, lots of fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. But again, at the end of the day, it's still calories in, calories out. So yes, going back to weight being a personal choice, I think he's obviously right. Weight is a personal choice in that virtually all of us can eat less, exercise more, and change our weight by doing that. That's not the same as saying someone is a bad person for being overweight or for choosing not to lose weight, or that losing weight is easy. Greg acknowledges that set point is a thing, which makes it very hard to lose weight and to maintain that weight loss. I talk about this in my intuitive eating video, but unfortunately, Greg is right. If you are overweight, it's because you eat more calories than you burn.
In some videos, he even mentions that he has nothing against obese people, but that he just wants his viewers to be the best versions of themselves. And that is great. But self-loathing and being miserable eating foods that you don't like and not eating enough food to meet your body's basic needs is not my definition of being the best version of yourself.
Again, where does he say that? Yes, he is obnoxious. Yes, he's screaming, whatever. But in none of those clips did he promote self-loathing and being miserable and not meeting your basic needs. Again, he recommends against people eating a diet that is too restrictive. He says in that very video, the video she keeps showing clips from, so I assumed she watched it, he tells people that they should eat when they're hungry.
I'm not against eating when you're hungry. When you're hungry, you should be eating. In fact, I tell my clients to eat when they're hungry. You give yourself all those permissions and not feel guilty, but you make smart choices with what you eat.
The whole eating foods you don't like thing that she keeps mentioning throughout the video, I think it comes from one of the videos she covers where he talks about eating smoked salmon and how he doesn't really like it. It's not his favorite food or whatever, but he's eating it for health reasons, for the healthy fats. And then it seems like she just blows that up to Greg hates his diet. The dude eats popcorn every day. I don't think he hates his diet. When you see him eating his food, those protein sickle things, he seems like he genuinely enjoys them. The protein bar that he takes out of the freezer and it's rock hard. Most of his food looks gross to me. I'm not gonna lie. What is that French toast? No, thank you. But he seems like he genuinely enjoys it. It seems like he's done everything he can to eat foods that he genuinely enjoys while still keeping his body fat so low because that's what he wants to do. She makes it sound, and again, a lot of people in the intuitive eating world do this, she makes it sound as though you're orthorexic if you eat food that you don't love. If everything you eat isn't something that you love, well, you must have an eating disorder. What? Who eats food that they love every single second of every day? You know what I would love to have every morning for breakfast? Corn pops. Do I eat corn pops every morning for breakfast? Of course not. That would not be healthy. That would not be modeling good behavior for my children either. I don't really want them eating corn pops every morning for breakfast. So I try to eat something that's still yummy to me, but healthier. Is it as good as corn pops? No, but being healthier and again, modeling good behavior for my children is more important to me than corn pops. This much more important because corn pops are the best thing ever. In all seriousness, I just really dislike this watering down of eating disorder in general and also orthorexia specifically. I'm a firm believer that orthorexia is a thing, that people become so obsessed with clean eating, whatever you want to call it, that it hurts them mentally, even physically, if they are restricting their food so much that they aren't meeting nutrient needs. So I think people should know what that is and should watch out for it, particularly if they're prone to things like that. But you don't help them by rendering the term meaningless by calling anything you don't like, any diet at all. If someone's dieting, they're orthorexic. That's not helpful. Again, Greg is against overly restrictive diets. He's against cutting out food groups. He's against all these fads. He talks about gluten-free fad and organic fad. He has a really funny rant about Whole Foods.
Screw whole food. You don't need whole food. Food is food. Okay? Doesn't matter if it's whole or half or a quarter food. What are you guys talking about? It's a whole food. Eat the protein bar. Just don't eat the shitty protein bars. The ones with 300 calories or a protein cookie with 350 calories and 100 grams of sugar or some bullshit. Just don't eat that. Eat healthy protein bars.
I don't see this as promoting orthorexia. Promoting orthorexia is this shit.
Avoiding cashews, not good for you.
People saying cashews are unhealthy, grains are unhealthy, sugar from fruit is bad. All of our food is covered in poison, so we have to eat organic. If you want to encourage disordered eating, this is how you do it. Freely's channel, that's how you do it, right? Unfortunately, a lot of YouTubers, unfortunately, female YouTubers doing these What I Ate Todays. Unfortunately, a lot of vegan female YouTubers doing these What I Ate Todays. That's how you encourage disordered eating. Not by telling people to eat less calories if they want to lose weight. Not by telling people, hey, make healthy swaps for unhealthy food. That's just normal, healthy living. And look, by Abby's standards, I think she's promoting orthorexia in her video. Again, by her standards. Talking about how, he should switch to sauteed vegetables. Why? What's wrong with his green shake? What's wrong with that? Why are you making him eat cleaner foods, so to speak? Is that not orthorexia? Why are you chastising him about his food? Are you trying to encourage an eating disorder? Do you see how stupid that is? Can we just use terms correctly, please? Finally is number 5, which is that he's against intuitive eating and self-compassion. And she includes this clip where he's responding to Stephanie Buttermore's all in isolation video. Stephanie says that we should be patient with ourselves, that it's okay if we go off our diet and, exercise program because of the current situation, the pandemic. Greg says no.
use this time to freaking self-justify that it's okay to get off your training plan, that it's okay to not exercise, that it's okay to order pizza every night. You don't think my girlfriend orders pizza every other day? I think she's had pizza 4 times in the last 3 weeks. 14-inch pizzas and 12-inch garlic fingers. Last for 2 or 3 days. That's all I see. I had a zillion pieces. A zero. It's a choice, and you choose to do it or not. And it's not a punishment to eat healthy and exercise. It's not.
So Abbey thinks that this is like anti-self-compassion, that he's against being compassionate towards yourself. I think that he would respond, no, that his view of being self-compassionate is different, that eating unhealthfully and not exercising is not being compassionate because you're not taking care of yourself.
When you eat junk food and become morbidly obese, that's punishing yourself. Okay? When you gain a lot of weight and you're healthy and you sit on the couch and you're not active, that's a form of punishment. Exercise is a reward.
I guess I agree with kind of both of them, both Stephanie and Greg. I think it depends on the person. Some of us really do need to take a break, especially when you're talking about exercise. We do need to take a break or cut back from it, or just do like simple walking, which is pretty much the only thing he talks about in the video anyway. It's just like going for a walk. But some of us are going to use the pandemic to be lazy and not do anything and just eat a bunch of junk food. Like, we are. And I think you just have to know yourself. You have to know yourself, or get to know yourself very well, and be honest with yourself, which is hard. I do like what he says about keeping junk food in the house. Stephanie shows her pantry and it's like full of chips and all sorts of delicious looking stuff. And he says,
when you're not able to control yourself around food, or you're eating too much, to throw highly palatable, delicious food that's high calorie concentrated right in front of you that you have to say no to all the time. Who has that kind of willpower? 1 in a million? Certainly not me. I don't want to stand there and stare at junk all day. I want to eat it.
I totally agree with that. Stefan Guillenet and a lot of other people say the same sort of thing. Like, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to be healthier, you need to make your environment as healthy friendly as possible, right? You want to set yourself up for success. Surrounding yourself with junk food is not really doing that, because you are going to have moments of weakness, lots of moments of weakness, very likely, if you're me, where you eat like half of a bag of Doritos, or like half of a box of those stupid Kroger duplex cookies, or half a container of ice cream, or, you know, whatever. Like, it's really hard to avoid that, but it's really hard to overeat on Doritos and ice cream and cookies if they aren't around, if they're not in your house. Also, I think you can make a pretty good argument that right now, because of our current situation, it's actually a pretty good time to start dieting and exercising. You are stuck at home, which means you're not going to restaurants, you're not going out to eat, right? A lot of people are going out having their lunch break at restaurants. We're not doing that now. There's a good chance that you have more time to exercise. And Greg is right. This is good stress, as long as you're keeping it, you know, light, moderate walking, stuff like that. If you're doing a lot of HIIT training, like, no. Even like heavy weight training for me, oh my God, I feel so sleepy after doing that. Finally, the best way to lose weight is to not put it on in the first place. I know Stephanie's trying to be nice, and that's great. She seems like just a really nice, lovely person. But I worry that this could be encouraging people ultimately to eat more than they would have otherwise, and gaining weight and then fighting to get that weight back off, just to get back down to the weight they were. As I talked about in the intuitive eating video, you can change your set point, and it is way easier to change your set point higher, to raise your set point, than it is to lower it. Again, most of us are overweight, so I don't know. I don't think we should be encouraging people to be lackadaisical about what they eat and about moving their bodies more, especially since one of the risk factors for severe complications from COVID-19 is obesity. So that's Abbey's video. We'll kind of talk about that in a minute. Most of the problems I have with her videos stem not from her dietetic background, but from her intuitive eating background. Anti-calorie counting, or like not even believing in calories at all, because the law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to people, or something. Viewing judgment of foods as judgment of people. If you don't eat what you love all the time, you have an eating disorder. Seemingly being way more concerned with leanness than fatness, even though the vast majority of us deal with the latter, not the former. I really worry that this intuitive eating / like health at every size stuff is really kind of starting to matter. It's having more of an influence on people, including professionals. Like, it's easy and really expected to go after someone like Greg, who says people look like poop, right? And who yells and says shut up and like whatever. Yeah, that's not really surprising. But it's not just Greg. It's like the exact opposite of Greg, like super inoffensive, super nice people like Dr. Mike, who has been accused of fat shaming because he says that obesity is unhealthy, because he encourages his overweight patients to lose weight. What? This is breaking people's brains. Like, I don't know. I worry that this is a problem. And that's not even the worst stuff about intuitive eating. When I was making my video, I tried my best to steel man the argument. And so I left out, in particular, one of the crazier claims: you can be an intuitive eater and not believe that particular part of it. So I just decided to leave it out, which I kind of regret now because I see it over and over and over again. And clearly a lot of intuitive eaters believe it. It's the belief that fat people are fat because of restriction, actually, that it was dieting and restricting calories that like fucked up their metabolism and ultimately made them fat. So Freely's metabolic damage shit, like, no joke. That's what it is. Abbey actually alludes to this not even alludes, I mean, she says it in her section on weight being influenced by things other than diet. She says, and yes, even restriction, which, yes, if you end up restricting to a point where you become so hungry that you are binging nonstop, but then you're not restricting, are you? You're eating more calories than you need, and so you're gaining weight. Again, it's always calories in, calories out. It's just weird, especially when you have people following intuitive eating who've been following it for months or even years, and they're gaining weight. Somehow I don't think restricting is the problem. I'm not saying dieting is perfect. It's really hard. Most people will not stick to it. It sucks. It doesn't help that everyone is promoting their particular diet as the thing that will help you lose weight. But I don't see how intuitive eating is the answer if you believe that obesity is a problem and you actually want to reach and maintain a healthy weight. I mean, it's unsurprising that intuitive eaters don't believe that generally. I mean, to me, it's kind of like the keto, low carb, paleo people. Of course, they're going to believe that saturated fat isn't a problem and that it's actually healthy. Because if you're going to follow those diets, you're going to eat high saturated fat. If you're going to follow intuitive eating, maybe there's a really good chance that you're going to gain weight. So it makes sense for them to believe that, oh, actually gaining weight isn't a problem. Anyway, if I were looking for like guidance on losing weight, I would certainly prefer someone like Greg over Abbey. And I'm not a fan of his demeanor either, although I wonder if he's really like that with people he works with. It's probably playing it up for the camera, right? At least he's straight and to the point, right? At least he's going to be honest that, hey, that's not healthy. And hey, maybe you can do a little bit more than that. Like, I think you can take a 10-minute walk every day. With Abbey and the intuitive eating stuff, it's so wishy-washy. It's really hard to get a definitive answer on anything, which is part of the reason why it took me so long to do my video, was just finding answers to the obvious questions, like the intuitive eating book, where in the original editions, it was very clear that they thought obesity was unhealthy. And then they seem to have steadily removed all of that stuff from the later editions. Like, okay, what do you actually believe? I don't know. Just some other things that I find interesting. I find it interesting, this is the video that Abbey chose from Greg, the one where he's responding to Stephanie Buttermore's isolation video. Why not this response, where he's actually recommending one of her videos and he's being like super nice and recommending her training program? He's talking about set point, how hard it is to lose weight, how important like social support is. I just wonder why she doesn't talk about that video at all. And, going back to, I mentioned earlier that she did a video on me, which was very, very positive. And I think I even said in my response to her response, YouTube is so dumb. I think I even said that like, it seems like she really went out of her way to find like my best what I ate today. Because you guys know, if you watch me, I have some pretty gnarly like eating videos. She easily could have torn me apart and made me look totally like unhealthy and ridiculous if she wanted to. But it seemed like she was really trying not to do that. And like, I don't know, trying to make me look good. She picked like my best what I ate today video that I've like ever done, especially with alternative sweeteners, right? Which she seems to be not too big on. And she goes after Greg for that stuff. Like, you guys know I love my Splenda. You would die if you saw how much Splenda I put in my coffee. But yeah, instead she picked like the healthiest what I ate today that I've done. That's like full of whole foods and whatnot. But with Greg, she like didn't. She picked the ones where he is specifically eating less calories and like every single calorie matters and like eating in a way that the vast majority of people don't eat. And it's really not for health at that point. It's just for competing, right? And then again, finding these clips where he is just like at his worst, so to speak, or he is like really, really aggressive, even though pretty much everything he says is fine in my opinion. Yeah, it's just weird. And also like the way she talks about his food is she's just overtly like, it's gross.
Giant salad dressed with diet syrup? Oh, no. No. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Hey, no judgment. Greg, you do you.
No judgment, only I'm judging you.
She doesn't seem to do that with other videos. The ones I've seen, like she says a lot of times, what is it? I don't want to yuck anybody's yum or whatever. Like she tries to be more like careful talking about personal preference when it comes to food, right? But with him, she's a lot less careful, and it's just interesting. I don't know. I don't think it's intentional. I think again, she's just kind of maybe blinded by her dislike of him. She clearly does not like him, and maybe it influenced her ability to really look at his content objectively and to really hear everything he said and to ultimately paint an accurate picture of his channel. Oh, her comment about how he wants to be super shredded.
Super shredded. Yikes.
I thought she was body positive. I don't know. To me, that comes across as a little bit body shaming, lean shaming. I don't know what the hell you would call it, thin shaming. I don't know. Like, why is it okay for obese people to be obese, but it's not okay for super lean people to be super lean? It seems like a double standard there. Like, I wonder if she were reviewing someone who wanted to be super obese, if she would respond, yikes. I seriously doubt it. Oh, she removed several minutes of her video. So you can, once you upload a video and even after you publish it, you can trim it to some degree. And she ended up removing like several minutes, over 10 minutes of footage. And I actually found this out from watching Greg's responses, because some of the footage, I was like, what, where, I didn't see that. Where'd that come from? And then at one point he mentions like that her video is 52 minutes. And I was like, what? No, her video is like 36 or 37 minutes. What are you talking about? And so then I went down to her description in the video and it says, oh, she removed some stuff where she responds to one of his videos, one of the two, and he had removed that video. So she decided to remove all of that footage. A lot of her like worst comments regarding his food were included in that stuff too, which I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like that you're able to do that you can just have a video up and then remove some of the footage. So like you've got people responding to that. And then what, you've got other people saying, what? I didn't see that. Where's that? Oh, it was in stuff that she removed. What? Like, I don't know. I feel like at that point you need to just remove the video and re-upload. Oh, she also removed ratings, which I just generally, it's very weird to me. Like people can still see the comments. Like, so what if I can't see the like, dislike? People can still see the comments and see all the criticism. So like, why? Maybe there's another reason I'm not thinking of that you would remove the like dislike ratio. Like, I mean, you can still like and dislike the video, right? So YouTube still registers all that. It's just we can't see how many people have liked and how many people have disliked. I don't know. Weird. So yeah, Greg is ultimately right, I think, at least regarding these clips. I don't know about the rest of his channel. I don't know what else he says. He might say some totally horrible stuff. You know, I don't watch his stuff. I have no plans to. No offense, I just don't watch fitness stuff really. And the occasional time when I do, it's like, it's ladies generally. I don't know. I'd rather watch sexy ladies than like ripped dudes. It's just me. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Subscribe, support the channel, patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. Thank you so much to patrons, of course. And I will have a new video hopefully soon. There's something else you guys wanted me to respond to that I might. It doesn't have anything to do with veganism, but it is from a vegan YouTuber. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, I did want to respond to the All In, Stephanie Buttermore's All In, because I've been asked about that a lot. So I'll just briefly say that it's not intuitive eating. People equate the two, and she kind of does as well, because she's always putting intuitive eating like in her titles, but it's actually not intuitive eating. If you watch, I think it's the first video she ever did on it, she talks about her rules, which she has rules, which is like not intuitive eating, right? And I think she says like, you know, she could eat as many calories as she wanted, but like 75% of her food had to be whole food, something like that. That is not intuitive eating, right? Like when you're starting intuitive eating, you're not supposed to focus on nutrition. You're not supposed to have any rules like that. And I think she had a few other little rules. So yeah, what she does is not intuitive eating, just, you know, to be clear. And also she has a very particular, unique case. You know, she was very thin. She was so thin and so ripped for so long and doing intense exercising. I think it was like 3 or 4 years or maybe longer than that she had a body like that. I don't know how she was able to do that. And yeah, as a result, she was constantly hungry and tired. I think she lost her period as well. She was not healthy. She seems a lot happier and healthier, and she looks amazing. I mean, I think a lot of us would die to have that body. Like, she is so curvy in like all the right ways, places, you know, she's just beautiful. She's an absolutely beautiful woman, even though she has gained like a lot of weight. But again, she started from such a light weight, and just genetically where she keeps her fat. And she also, you know, lifts a lot of weight and, you know, builds up her butt and all that stuff. Yeah, it just leads her to look very, very good. Again, not like the average woman. So yeah, I think she's talking about a lot of issues that some women do deal with. Exercising too much, eating too little, losing your period, feeling cold all the time, all that sort of stuff. And that's really important. But I do worry that most of us don't have those issues, right? Again, the average person, the average woman is overweight. And so I hope people aren't taking from that, oh, it would be good for me to eat 5,000 calories a day and gain a whole bunch of weight. No, probably not. And I wonder if, you know, Stephanie seems to have kind of plateaued. She's not eating as many calories anymore. And I don't think she's really like gaining more weight or anything. And again, she looks amazing. But I kind of wonder what if she had desired to keep eating? And what if she were a lot heavier than she is now? Like, you know, would she even have this like positive response that she has? I seriously doubt it, right? I think people are watching because she does look so amazing. And again, I just worry that that's sending the wrong message to people regarding calories, just what would happen for the average person if we follow that advice. I think it's just something that anyone who is considering intuitive eating really needs to think hard about. And please learn about how our brains work and set point and food reward. I really recommend Stefan Guillenet's The Hungry Brain. I think it's just really important to learn about that if you're interested in intuitive eating, and really think hard about, hey, you know, what happens if you do gain weight and you do raise your set point? Are you okay with that possibility? Anyway, I was going to say I'm going to go play Paper Mario Origami King. Is that what it's called? I'm not sure what it's called, but I just had to get it, man. I love the original Super Mario RPG. That game is straight up hard. I don't even think I ever beat it. I think I got to the final boss and was like, nope, I'm done. So often, I can't even remember all the games I've done that with. But yeah, love that game. And was it Thousand Year Door? That one was really good. And then maybe I played one after that and I was like, meh, wasn't as good. And didn't they have some didn't they have some handheld like ones on the DS that like weren't very good? I don't know, but I was kind of done with the Paper Mario stuff. And yeah, I don't know, watching the trailer for this one, I just needed to play it. And it is super fun. I really like the combat system, the rings. I'm so bad at it. Like I don't know, I'm just real dumb. It's super hard for me. But the game overall is like so easy. That's the thing. I feel like, again, like Super Mario RPG was hard. Maybe I was just real bad at it, but I felt like it was pretty hard. And even Thousand Year Door, I thought some of the like boss battles were actually fairly difficult. This one is like not. It's so easy, but it's really cute. And yeah, I'm having fun with it. So I was going to say I was going to go play that, but actually I need to work all day and edit this and probably help with the kids at some point, you know? So yeah, may have to put Mario on the back burner for today. Ooh, that sounds awful. Put Mario on the back burner. No. And the story is pretty hardcore. Like, hey, yo, Mario, what do you think about genociding all the toads? Yes or no? I'm sorry, what? And then, well, I won't spoil, but yeah, man, there's some stuff. There's some stuff in this game. And I don't like having to bop, like, animals. Like, the toads get turned into little, like, origami, like, there was, like, a cat. There was a cat one. I didn't like that. Usually it's, like, bugs, which, not so bad, not gonna lie. But still, like, I don't want to bop these bugs, even if they are really toads. And sometimes they're like, oh, man, like, I was a butterfly. I was flying around. That was kind of cool, actually.